After your tour to Afghanistan, you decided, okay, we're going Reg Force now.
Absolutely, yeah. I came home and I was bored. I will tell you this,
Right.
going back to school and just not having that day-to-day someone telling me what to do, just from right when you get up till you go to sleep, that structure of it all. When I came home and I was going back to school, I was bored. I was really bored.
Right.
I don't know what else to say other than I was just really bored. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can understand where you've been on all the time, and now you come back to real civilian life, and it's just not the same.
It was just
right?
slower and
sitting in a classroom, and it's not. Yeah, you're always wanting to go back now, and
I missed it. And
Right.
you look at it when I look back, and I'm like, it was such a small snippet of my life at that time, but it had such an impact on how I moved forward after that. I had never seen poverty to that extent before.
Right.
I had never understood the rest of the world. I was very, very, I'm going to say, westernized
Yep.
in my way of thinking. Being a young girl attending college and university and coming right out of high school, it was culturally shocking for me, and definitely changed the way I saw the world and how I fit myself into it after this.
Right. It's definitely something that changes you going over. You're never the same.
Even just 6 months.
Yep.
And I'm like, that was 6 months of my 40 years on this earth, but that 6 months really impacted me as a person.
Right. So you went Reg Force.
I did.
And so tell us about your
I
transition.
originally transferred, I was infantry.
Okay.
I was a Master Corporal at the time. I transferred into infantry Reg Force, and I commissioned, and I got to do the UTP NCM. So
Okay.
I got to go and complete my university degree. I did a civilian university, so I went to Western University in London.
Okay.
And I served with infantry throughout the remainder of my university degree, and then it was post-university that I transferred to another trade for family reasons.
Right. And I think it was MP that you ended up going to.
I did. So I had already commissioned.
Right.
So I was an officer, so I applied for military police officer and for intelligence officer, both very similar.
Yeah.
And military police is what picked me up first, and that's where I continued my career.
Excellent.
In the MP branch, I started out in National Investigation Services.
Okay.
So serious and sensitive crimes, and then I left there. I went and instructed at the police academy, and then I finalized my career in Ottawa working with the close protection unit.
Right. Now, you have a distinction of being the first female who completed the...
I'm the first female officer in the Canadian Forces to complete and qualify as a close protection team leader, yes.
That's fantastic.
It is, thank you.
Congratulations. So tell us about the training for that. Like, how was going through that?
Okay, so first of all, it was by far the most fun I have ever had in my entire life.
Right.
I've never shot so many bullets. I've never been in so many different scenarios that they put you through, and the amount of training that I got to go through, and the repeated amount of training and the intensity of it. Everything was a high stress situation to the max all the time. And
Right.
the bonds with your teammates that you formed, like we trained from the get-go on exactly everything we learned about how to just work with each other. I don't even know, I'm just reminiscing about it, but it's just, it was by far the most fun. I tell my children about it all the time, about the training, not the training itself, but just the experience of
Right.
all of it.
Working at that level is phenomenal, right?
At that level with other people that think the way that you think, communicate the way that you communicate, all of it. And it taught me a lot about how to function in civilian world as well, surprisingly, because we did a lot of work with, just restaurants or people are just walking in and asking permission or favors or whatever. And prior to that, I really never spent much time in the civilian world. So,
Well, yeah, especially you started at such a young age in your career that, yeah, there wasn't a civilian job ahead of time to prep you for this, right?
You know, that's actually the hardest thing I found in the release, was that I was 17 when I joined. I did just shy of 20 years.
Right.
And I don't remember the first half of younger part of my life up until, you know, you're 6 or whatever. So everything I remember about who I am and who I grew up being was in the military. So when I left, I was like, well, who am I without the Army? And I went right back to the last person I remember being, which was a 17-year-old girl.
Right.
So I did do all the things you probably shouldn't do. I went and got a bunch of tattoos. I got a bunch of piercings. I experienced life as a 17-year-old much, much later.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing that I think a lot of guys struggle with when they retire, is that sense of identity, right? Like
Big time.
you were Army. I was 27 years in, so that was who I was. So releasing, all of a sudden you're sitting in the parking lot going, now what do I do?